Oh my God. Okay. Hey, sorry guys. I had a small problem with the microphone. Maybe you could hear me anyhow, but just in case you didn't hear me, welcome back to Live PST. This is for our lower intermediate class. Jian, I know you're here. So nice to see you, Jian. And nice to see anyone else that is here. Like I was saying before, I had a pretty good weekend, very normal weekend to be honest. I went shopping, well, I went grocery shopping with my wife and kids, and yeah, besides that, it was a very normal weekend. So, Jian, if you're here, or if anybody else is here, please tell me about your weekend. What did you do on your weekend? Yeah, what did you guys do? So, while I'm waiting for your answer, because maybe you need time to type, that's okay. What we're going to be doing today is like what we usually do. We're going to be doing grammar in the first class. Second class, we're probably going to be continuing with grammar for a little bit, and then we'll be getting into some vocabulary as well. In our third class today, what we need to do is go over some writing, right? So we'll look at some writing and I'll give you guys a model answer for what I would write, and we'll see how it goes, and hopefully everything goes well. Now remember, at any time, if you don't understand something, something's confusing, please ask a question. It's totally okay. I'm totally fine with that. Anyhow, guys, what we're actually going to be doing for our writing, because the topic of this week is if poems. So our major grammar focus for this week is using if. And when we use if, we call these conditionals. And we're going to be talking about the first and also the zero conditional. So our main focus will be the zero and first conditional. Because when we talk about this subject, conditionals, actually there are 4 conditionals in total. The zero conditional, the first conditional, the second conditional, and lastly the third conditional. However, what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to stick to just 2 conditionals for this week. And those 2 conditionals will be the zero and first conditional, right? So just remember, if this is actually like a little bit easy for you guys, you can expand further and take a look at the second and third conditionals, which are actually a lot more difficult. But anyhow, guys, yeah, if you want to tell me how your weekend is, or if you got a question, just feel free to write it down anytime. But what I think you should also do is take a look at this sheet here. We have a lot of summarized information. So we're going to just start by taking a look at this brief summary of all of the conditionals first. So take a look at this one here. It has these like little bubbles, and it says conditionals in the middle. And at the very top, we have the first one being the zero conditional, right? And the very first one here, the zero conditional, is general truths and general habits. If plus present simple, present simple. If you add 2 and 2, you get 4. So that is our example. So let's focus, actually, okay. Let's look at all the conditionals first and then look at them in more detail afterwards. Okay, so zero conditional, it is about general truths and general habits. Now, I'm going to be honest here. The zero conditional compared to the first, second, and third conditional is not as commonly used. It's still useful, but definitely not as useful as the first conditional, and not even as useful as the second or third conditional. Anyhow, let's take a look at the first conditional. Now, like what I just said, the first conditional is the most commonly used conditional, right? Because the first conditional is talking about possible or likely things in the future, right? And that's just a very common thing that you talk about with other people. It's like, hey, what are you going to do this weekend? What are you going to do next week? What are you going to do next month, next year, et cetera, et cetera. So when you're using the first conditional, you're talking about things being possible or likely in the future. So the first conditional here is if plus present simple. Then the second part is will plus infinitive. If it rains later, we will stay at home. Okay, now let's take a look at the second conditional. We're not going to actually be using the second conditional today, but it's still a good idea to take a quick look. Our second conditional here says impossible things in the present, unlikely things in the future. Okay, so you have to think about the second conditional. Like when you're using it, it's like an imaginary situation, right? It's something that is probably not going to happen, right? So we have if plus past simple, and then the second clause, would plus infinitive. And our example here is a very common example. This is something that people often think about, actually. If I won the lottery, I would sail around the world. Great, that's awesome, right? That's a very common one. If I won the lottery, I would da 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 da. Now, it is a good example because remember, the second conditional is about something that is very unlikely or an imaginary situation. And winning the lottery, you know, unfortunately for us, it's very, very unlikely that is going to happen. I think they say you are more likely to get hit by lightning than to win the lottery, right? And getting hit by lightning is really, really uncommon, right? So anyhow, that's the second conditional. And then our third conditional, it says, things that didn't happen in the past and their imaginary results. So the third conditional is a little bit similar to the second in that it is an imaginary situation but placed in the past, not in the present or not an imaginary future, right? So we have if plus past perfect. Then for our second clause, we have would have plus past participle. If I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. And the example here is good because a lot of times when we use the third conditional, we are kind of expressing that we are like sad about something that didn't happen in the past. We are expressing a regret, right? And regret is a really good word. Regret. Regret is both a noun and it's used as a verb. And it's like to feel bad about something in the past. Okay, so blah, 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 blah. What did I want to say? Yeah, when we're using the third conditional, it's often about a regret or something that we regret in the past. So the example here is pretty good. This is a common example, at least the beginning of it is. If I had studied harder. If I had worked harder. Those are two very common ways to start a third conditional sentence. I would have da 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 da. So for example, for me, one of my regrets in my life is, of course, in Canada, we have to study French when we are in high school. But when I studied French in high school, I wasn't very serious. I didn't take it very seriously. I didn't try hard enough. So now I really regret that because I feel like, you know, if I had studied French harder, then I would be fluent in French right now. And of course, right now I'm not fluent in French. My French is fairly poor, so I missed out, right? I really should have studied harder. So for me, I could say, yeah, if I had studied harder, I would have been fluent in French, but I'm not. Anyhow, guys, so we went over just very basically and very quickly the 4 different uses of the 4 different conditionals. But like I said, this week we're focusing mostly on the zero and first conditional. So what I would like you guys to do is stop looking at this sheet here, although this is useful, keep this around as a reference, and take a look at this here. This is a little bit more detailed, right? So we have some more information. Actually, maybe this is better. Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. This is good, but this is a very quick summary. Instead, it's better to look at this sheet here that starts with zero conditional. This is a better sheet to look at. It's more detailed. Anyhow, so we are going to start with the zero conditional. Okay, so let's take a look here together, guys. It says we can make a zero conditional sentence with 2 present simple verbs, one in the if clause and one in the main clause. So whenever we make a conditional sentence, we have 2 different parts of the sentence. And the first part, actually it doesn't have to be the first part. Sometimes it could be the second part. You can kind of exchange them without worrying. But the first part is called the if clause, and the second part is called the main clause, or sometimes called the conditional clause, but that's okay. Now, for the zero conditional, the format is pretty simple. You just have if plus present simple, then a comma, and then you have ... present simple. So making a sentence using the zero conditional is grammatically not very hard, right? So let's take a look here. It says this conditional is used when the result will always happen. So if blah, 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 this will happen, and this is always true, or it will always occur like this. So if water reaches 100 degrees, it always boils, right? So that's one example. If water reaches 100 degrees, it always boils, right? So this is our if clause, and this is our main clause, right? Now think about this sentence here. If water reaches 100 degrees, it always boils. If we think about this, of course this is just true, right? This is always true. And that's why it is a zero conditional sentence, right? So yeah, it says it is a fact. I'm talking in general, not about one particular situation. The result of the if clause is always the main clause. So the result of this is always called the main clause. The if in this conditional can usually be replaced by when without changing the meaning. So that's another important point. For the zero conditional, if instead we don't, like let's say we don't want to use if we use when water reaches 100 degrees, it always boils. This is totally fine. This is okay, right? Because we're just talking about a general truth, a fact, right? For example, if water reaches 100 degrees, it boils. It is always true. There can't be a different result. There can't be a different result sometimes. If I eat peanuts, I am sick. This is true only for me, maybe not for everyone, but it's still true that I'm sick every time I eat peanuts. Okay, that's kind of a weird example because that's just true for that person, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe we could think of something. For example, I could say, if a poisonous snake bites me, or no, bites you, you get, you get sick. Okay, so this is just another example of a zero conditional. If a poisonous snake bites you, now poisonous snake means a snake that has poison, right? So that poison will go into your body and make you sick, right? If a poisonous snake bites you, you get sick. So our if clause and then our main clause, right? And the reason this you here, of course, it doesn't mean like you, like only you. This is like you in general, like you as in just people, right? So I could say, yeah, if a poisonous snake bites you, or if a poisonous snake bites someone, people get sick or something like that. But this is a good example, again, of a zero conditional sentence. Now, I think it'd be a good idea, guys, for me to erase this here, and then we're going to look at some more zero conditional sentences. So let me erase this here. And let's take a look. Please take a look, guys, at the bottom of the sheet here. We have some more examples of the zero conditional. Here are some more examples. If people eat too much, they get fat. Okay, if people eat too much, they get fat. Of course, this is true, right? This is true for anybody, and that's why we're using the zero conditional. And again, if people get fat, if clause, right? Comma, they get fat. This is a truth, but this is our main clause, right? Second example, if you touch a fire, you get burned, right? Not just you, just people in general. Yeah, if you touch fire, you get burned. This is true. People die if they don't eat. Now, actually, the third example is good because, like I said before, with the if clause, yeah, let's actually think about this sentence in a little bit more detail because this is a good sentence. People die if they don't eat. Okay, so this one here, sorry about the big space here, but in this case, they've switched around the clauses. People die is the main clause. And then the if clause here is if they don't eat. Now just remember that you can switch these around. That's actually okay. You can switch the main clause with the if clause, but there is a difference here. If we start with the main clause first, people die if they don't eat, we don't need a comma. However, if we turn it around and we start with if, now not they, now we'll exchange it with people. If people don't eat, comma, they die. It has the same meaning. Nothing is different, right? But we've switched the clauses around, right? And that is actually okay. So here we've got the main clause with the if clause. Here, of course, we've switched things around. And now we have the if clause. And secondly, we have the main clause. And the only difference here is if you decide to do this, if you want to switch things around, because, well, I don't know, you just like switching things around. When you're switching it around, if you start with the if clause first you have the if clause, and then you've got your comma, and then you've got your main clause. But if you switch it around, the main clause comes first, no comma, and then the if clause secondly, right? So really, the only difference here, there's no difference in meaning. Grammatically, is not really that different, but punctuation-wise, you have to keep the comma in mind, right? Comma when the if clause starts first, but no comma if the main clause comes first. Anyhow, guys, our other examples here are, okay, the fourth one, you get water if you mix hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, so this is another good example of starting with the main clause first, with the if clause secondly. So our main clause, you get water, right? Then our if clause, if you mix hydrogen and oxygen, right? Now remember here also, you could remove the if and replace it with when, right? We could also say, you get water when you mix hydrogen and oxygen, and this would still be a zero conditional sentence, right? And it would still be true, so anyhow. All right, next one we have here is, again, it's switched. Snakes bite, main clause, if they are scared, if clause, right? Now again, if we switched it around, we would say, if snakes are scared, comma, they bite. Almost exactly the same. We just have to change the punctuation a little bit, right? But the meaning is exactly the same. And our last example here, guys, is kind of a more regular zero conditional sentence because we're starting with the if clause first. We have, if babies are hungry, if clause, they cry, main clause. And this is totally true. I have a baby right now. When she's hungry, she cries, right? When she's gassy, she cries. When she's upset, she cries, right? So if you have a baby, trust me, you got to get used to crying. It's a fact of baby life, right? Anyhow, guys, so zero conditional. The main thing here is to remember in what case do you use this and how to use it, right? So remember, the main case here is when something is generally true, when something is a fact, right? A scientific fact or something that's always true for you, right? Then the way you use it is pretty simple. If plus present tense for the if clause, comma, the main clause, present simple, right? So if plus present simple, ... present simple. Just remember, if you decide to switch it around like it is here, when you start with the main clause, you don't have a comma, and then you have your if clause. If you start with the if clause first, like most people do, you have your if clause first, comma, main clause. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, guys, now, what I need to say here before we move on to the backside and take a look at the first conditional is, of course, this is useful, right? Of course, the zero conditional is useful. It is a useful clause, but, it's not as commonly used as the first, second, and third conditional. The first conditional is the most important if conditional. So let me erase this off the board. And let's talk about the first conditional. Okay, so guys, take a look at this sheet here. The first conditional. This is, in my opinion, more important than the zero conditional, and you will see why very shortly. So the first conditional has the present simple after if, then the future simple in the other clause or the main clause. So our basic structure here is if plus present simple. Oh, that plus looks weird, right? That looked too much like a T. That plus also looks weird, but anyhow, if plus present simple, comma, so just like, you know, with the zero conditional, you have a comma, dot, 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 will plus, whoops, infinitive. Or another way we could say this is just basically future tense. And with future tense, I mean will or going to. All right, so the actual structure of the first conditional is like a little bit harder than the zero conditional, but it's really not that bad. It says it is used to talk about things which might happen in the future, that are probable in the future. Of course, we can't know what will happen in the future, but this describes possible things which could easily come true. Okay, so it doesn't mean that this is 100% going to happen, and that's what differentiates it from the zero conditional. Remember, zero conditional is a general truth, it is a fact, this thing always happens. But with the first conditional, this thing is probable, it is probably going to happen, or you will probably do this thing, or you are likely to do it, but maybe not, right? So this is very, very useful, right? So the examples here are pretty good. Let's just take a look at the first one in more detail. It says, if it rains, I won't go to the park. So we've got our if clause, and then, you know, we've got our main clause. Now, I'm not sure why I did that with a capital, but whatever. Anyhow, so yeah, if plus present simple, if it rains, comma, will plus infinitive or future tense, I will not go to the park. So just remember when we have won't here, this is like will not, right? Okay, let's take a look at another example. If I study today, comma, I will go to the party tonight. And there we go. So again, first part, our if clause. Second part, our main clause. If I study today, present simple, then, comma, main clause, future tense, right? I will go to the party tonight, right? Now, actually, I want to find an example. Okay, third one, I'm not going to write on the board, but it is a good example. If I have enough money, if clause, comma, I will buy some new shoes. Main clause, future tense, right? I will buy some new shoes. Now, if we think about that sentence, like that is probably going to happen, right? This person will probably have enough money, then they will probably buy some new shoes, right? But it's not guaranteed 100%, right? Maybe they won't have enough money, maybe they won't buy the new shoes, right? Now again, the fourth example here is good because it says she'll be late if the train is delayed. So here's another case where they have decided to start with the main clause first and then secondly have the if clause. So let's look at this one in a bit more detail. She'll be late if the train is delayed. She'll be late if the train is delayed. Okay, so let's think about this, right? She will be late. Okay, she will be late here. Of course, this is not an if clause. This is our main clause. She will be late. So this is in the future tense, will plus infinitive, right? She will be late. Then, of course, because we're switching it around, we do not need a comma, right? If the train is delayed, right? So here, of course, is our if statement or if clause, right? If the train is delayed, if is our if clause. Okie dokie, guys. So, boom, 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 boom. Yes, this is a good example. Good stuff. Okay, let's take a look at another one, but I'm not going to write it on the board. She will miss the bus if she doesn't leave soon. So again, she will miss the bus is our main clause, then no comma, and then our if clause, if she doesn't leave soon. That is probably true. Probably, not 100%, right? And last one here, if I see her, I'll tell her, right? So this person will probably see this other person, and if they do, they will tell her something, right? However, this is not 100% guaranteed. This will probably happen, but not 100%, right? Okay, guys, so the first conditional, I hope you guys can see now why the first conditional is so incredibly useful. It is because you're using it to talk about something being possible in the future. It's probable in the future. It will probably happen, but not always. And that's why this is really commonly used, because we often use this to talk about what we're going to do tonight, what we're going to do on the weekend, what we're going to do next year, what we're going to do 10 years from now, right? Like, if blah, 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 I will do this thing, right? If what can I say? If I'm not busy this weekend, I will probably hang out and go to the park with my daughters, right? If I am not very tired when I go home, I will cook dinner, right? Because my wife has been with my kids all day. By the time I get home tonight, she will probably be really tired. Honestly, trust me, when you have a kid, especially when you have more than one kid, staying home and taking care of your kids is honestly more difficult. Yeah, well, it depends on your job, right? But in most cases, I think, is more difficult than going to work. Like, yes, I'm working right now, and usually when I'm done speaking, I feel kind of tired, like my throat sometimes kind of hurts. But staying at home and taking care of my kids all day, wow, that is fun, but it is hard work, no joke. Anyhow, guys. Okay, so we've looked at the zero conditional, and we've looked at the first conditional. Zero conditional, general truths. If plus present simple, present simple. The first conditional, talking about things that will probably or likely happen in the future, right? And of course here we have if plus present simple, but then we have will plus infinitive, or basically just the future tense, right? And both of these are useful, but the first conditional is incredibly useful and very commonly used. Now, let me erase this here, but we need to take a look at a little bit more. Now, sometimes people get confused between, the first and zero conditional, and sometimes they have a hard time telling, like, which one should I use. So at the bottom here of the sheet, it says first verse zero conditional. So let's think about this here. It says, the first conditional describes a particular situation, whereas the zero conditional describes what happens in general, a general scientific fact, right? Secondly, for example, zero conditional. If you sit in the sun, you get burned. Here, I'm talking about every time a person sits in the sun, the burning is a natural consequence of the sitting, right? So the zero conditional, we do often use like the subject you, right? If you. But you have to remember that this you does not mean individual you. It means you, people in general, right? So, and of course, yeah, if you sit in the sun, you get burned, right? This happens. We know that this is true for everybody in the world. if you sit in the sun for too long, the sun will burn your skin. You'll get a very dark tan, or you'll get sunstroke or heat stroke, and then you'll feel kind of sick, right? Okay, last paragraph here. But, first conditional, if you sit in the sun, you will get burned. Now, you'll notice here, grammatically, this sentence is different, right? If you sit in the sun, you will get burned. Now it says here, I'm talking about what will happen today. Another day might be different. And this person is kind of talking to you or whoever they're saying this to, right? So the zero conditional and third conditional sentence, they look similar, and they are similar in meaning. But the first one is just generally true for everybody. And the second one is just talking about on this specific day, because maybe it's a very hot day, and to this specific person, right? This you, in this case, might just be you. All right, guys, so there we go. That's the zero conditional and the first conditional. Now, I think if you want to look into this even more, it would be a good idea to also take a look at this sheet here. It has zero conditional on this side, and on the other side, it's the first conditional. Now, this is like a quick summary of what we just talked about. So this stuff here is actually really good. But we just talked about it. So take a look at this when you want to do some review later. And we also have, again, what is this here? If clause, main clause. Oh, okay, well this is kind of useful, but I don't really want to look at this. I think instead of this, guys, what we should be doing right now is taking a look at some quick exercises. So we have one exercise here that says make zero conditionals, and another exercise says first conditional form. Okay, so both of these are good, and both of them are for good practice. So why don't we practice a little bit here? Let's see how we do. So let's start with the make zero conditionals. And we have one example here. For example, not rain, the flowers die. If it doesn't rain, the flowers die. Now remember, we just want to make zero conditional sentences. So we don't want to use will, because remember, zero conditional is if plus present simple, comma, present simple. And we are making sentences that are generally true. They are a fact. So let's think about number one. I wake up late. I be late for work. Okay, so let's start with our if statement. So let's say if I wake up late. So we've got our if clause. Okay. If I wake up late, comma, now we got be late for work, right? If I wake up late, now here you probably want to write I will be late for work. But then we would be making a first conditional sentence. We want to make a zero conditional sentence, so we don't want to use will. So we're just going to use am. I am late for work. Okay, and here, of course, we have our main clause. Now, also remember, we could switch this around and say, I am late for work if I wake up late. Ugh, that's such a boring sentence, though, right? Anyhow, yeah. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay, so let's take a look at number 2. My husband cooked, he burned the food. Oh, it's so sad. I guess the husband is not good at cooking, right? So let's start with our if clause first. If my husband, now remember, present simple, so husband, my husband cooks, right? If my husband cooks, comma, he burned the food. He, now when we're making a zero conditional sentence, so no will, right? He burns the food. All right, so I guess if this is always true, that's really sad. I guess that means that this guy is an incredibly bad cook, right? So if my husband cooks, he burns the food. Poor guy. Let's take a look at number 3. Julie not wear a hat, she gets sunstroke. Ooh, sunstroke is terrible. Sunstroke is when you're like outside in the sun for too long, and then you start to feel kind of gross and sick. Anyhow, so we'll start with our if statement first, or if clause first. If Julie not wear a hat, does not wear a hat, she, now again, not first conditional, she gets sunstroke. Okay, good. So again, if clause, comma, main clause. Let's do maybe one or two more. Children not eat well, they not be healthy. Okay, so if children don't or do not eat well, comma, they, now again, you don't want to use the future tense, right? They not be healthy. They are not healthy. Okay, there we go. So again, if clause, then main clause. That looks weird. Actually, I want to change this. No. This one seems weird to me. Oh, also, sorry guys, I made a small spelling error there. If children don't eat well, they are not healthy. They are not healthy if they don't eat well. No, that's true. That's true. This is a zero conditional sentence. This is okay. Usually people wouldn't say this though. They'd still, I think most people would use a first conditional sentence here. So to me it looks a little bit weird. Like I'd probably say if children don't eat well, they will not be healthy. But that would be first conditional. That would also be okay, but anyhow. Okay, number 5, and maybe last one before the break. You mix water and electricity, you get a shock. Yeah, that's true, right? If you mix water and electricity, you get shocked, or you get a shock. Either one here is really okay. You get shocked or you get a shock. Okie dokie guys, but tell you what, we're getting close to the break. Let's stop with number 5. Maybe after the break we'll continue a little bit more with the zero conditional practice, and then take a look at the first conditional practice, and then we'll look at some vocabulary for this week. And after that, of course, we're going to do some writing practice in our 3rd class, which will actually be kind of hard for me because I don't like poetry. I hate poetry. If you like it, sorry about that. Anyhow, yeah, let's take a 10-minute break, guys. I'll see you in 10 minutes. Good to go? Hey guys, welcome back to Live PST. We are in our second class. Like I said before the break, I would like to continue for a little bit longer focusing on the zero conditional and first conditional practice, right? So please take a look back at this sheet here, the zero conditional sheet, or it says make zero conditionals, right? And we were on number 6, I believe. Number 5 was if you mix water and electricity, you get shocked, right? So don't do that at home. Don't put electricity in the bathtub while you're taking a bath. That's dangerous, right? Anyhow, number 6 is people eat too many sweets, they get fat. This sentence hits too close to home for me. Anyhow, let's take a look at number 6. We're going to start with our if clause first. So if people eat too many sweets, so chocolate and candy, pastries, etc., they get fat. All right, so the second part is actually super easy, right? We've got our if clause. If people eat too many sweets, they get fat. That's all we need to say, right? And the reason why I said, oh, this sentence hits close to home is because, like, yeah, when my second daughter, Lila, when she was born about 2 months ago in early June, wow, actually, is it August 9th today? Because then that would mean, sorry guys, I'm just going to take out my cell phone for a second. What day is it? Why doesn't it say the date on my phone? August 10th. Oh, sorry, actually it's one day after. Basically, I guess we should throw a 2-month birthday for my daughter, Lila. Anyhow, yeah, it's been about 2 months, and during the first month, you know, you're tired, or I was tired anyhow, but trust me, you will be tired too when or if this happens to you. You're tired, you're sleepy, and then you start eating a lot of junk food because you don't have a lot of time to prepare healthy food. So yeah, if people eat too many sweets, like I did, they get fat like I did. Oh, so now I gotta lose weight, but losing weight is much harder than gaining weight, as you guys probably know. Number 7, you smoke, you get yellow fingers. Oh God, it's like these examples are talking about myself because I do smoke. Do I have yellow fingers? No. Do I have one finger that's a little bit yellow? Yeah, that's embarrassing. I hate it. But anyhow, if you, now remember this you is not you, this you is general you. If you smoke, whoops, that K looks really weird. If you smoke, you get yellow fingers. And there we go. That's all we need to do. All right, perfect. Let's take a look at number 8. Children play outside, they not get overweight. Okay, well that's good. Yeah, if children play outside. If children play outside, they don't get overweight. And of course that is true. If children are playing outside a lot, they don't get overweight. Okay, number 9, we have you heat ice, it melts. Oh, too easy. If you heat ice, it melts. And of course that it refers to the ice, right? If you heat ice, it melts. Nice and easy. Let's take a look at number 10. I hope you guys can see this on the board. I think you can. I speak to John, he get annoyed. Okay, if I speak to John, comma, he gets annoyed. So that's kind of sad because in this sentence here, it means like every time I speak to John, he always gets annoyed. This is a general truth. This is a fact, right? That's really weird. I don't know why John gets upset every time I talk to him, but maybe John doesn't like me. That's okay. If this other guy named Ron, who I don't like, if Ron doesn't like me, I got no problem. But John, he shouldn't get annoyed. Anyhow, guys, so the style that we followed here, though, for making these zero conditionals, we always started with the if clause first and the main clause second, right? If clause, comma, main clause. If plus present simple, comma, present simple again, right? Now, keep in mind, if you wanted to, you could totally change these sentences by switching the main clause with the if clause and then just not including a comma, right? So the first sentence here could be, I am late for work if I wake up late, or I am late for work when I wake up late. So remember, when you're using the zero conditional, you can always replace if with when in order to make a correct zero conditional sentence. Okay, guys, so we got all our zero conditional sentences here done. Take a look at the back side. Oh, sorry, not the back side. The other sheet here. The other sheet is first conditional sentences. So this one wants us to make first conditional sentences. It's actually a little bit easy because they give you blanks, so you don't have to form full complete sentences. But let me erase this here. And oh, I'm also just going to ask my coworker to come here for 1 second because the video is shot upwards. So if you guys make comments, I actually can't see them right now. So Sola or Louise, if you guys are watching, could you please come and like scroll down? So just in case, because I don't know if you guys are making comments, but I wouldn't be able to see them. So hopefully Sola or Louise will come and scroll down. If I've missed some of your comments, sorry about that, guys. But anyhow, let's take a look at this first conditional form. First conditional form. Bada bing, bada boom. Number one, make the first conditional. Okay, so what we have here, guys, is we got if I blank out tonight, I blank to the cinema. Okay, now I'm not going to write down the full complete sentence. That's kind of a waste of time. Let's just think about this together. Now they've given us the verb. Now remember the structure for first conditionals. The main structure is the same. If clause, then main clause. Or the other way around, main clause, then if clause, right? But no comma. But with the first conditional, you're going to be using if plus present simple and then will plus infinitive, right? Or the future tense. So this one here would be if I just go, if I go out tonight, I blank to the cinema. Now we're going to use go again, but we're going to use it in the future tense. So it's very simple. I will go to the cinema, right? Number two. So this is going to go by really quickly because it's actually quite simple. We have get. If you blank back late, I blank be angry. If you get back late, I will be angry. Sounds like my wife. Bum, bum, okay, and number three, we got not see for the first one and just see for the second. If we blank each other tomorrow, we blank each other next week. That sounds pretty bad, actually, but anyhow. If we, in this case now, if we do not see, if we do not see, or if we don't see each other tomorrow, we blank each other next week. Now again, remember, will plus infinitive. It's really easy, guys. We will see each other next week. So if we do not see each other tomorrow, don't worry, we will see each other next week. Okay, number four. If he blank, I blank be surprised. Okay, so present simple. So here we got come, but come is going to be modified a little bit, right? If he, because of he. If he comes, If he comes, because he, right? If he comes, I will plus infinitive. I will be surprised. There we go. So as you can see, it's not that hard, right? It's not too bad. Number 5, if we here, we blank late. If we wait here, we will be late. Okay, so again, number 5, nice and simple, simple stuff. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, that comma looks weird, sorry. Number 6, if we blank on holiday this summer, we blank to Spain. Wow, wow, I want to go to Spain too. Not fair. Although Spain has a lot of coronavirus cases right now. But if we go on holiday, so just go, we don't need to modify it. If we go on holiday this summer, we blank go to Spain, right? So we will go to España, go to Spain, right? Run with the bulls. All right, now again, Sola or Louise, if you guys are watching, Sola or Louise, please come to scroll down on the comments because I can't see if anybody's making any comments. Sola, please come and help me. Sorry. All right, guys, number 7. If the weather not improve, we blank not have a picnic. Oh, okay, very sad one, but if the weather, now this case is going to be a little bit longer. If the weather does not improve, if the weather does not improve, we, and then we have a negative, but of course still will plus infinitive. So we will not have a picnic. Sad, right? Number 8, we have they blank to the party if they blank invited. Okay. They go. Okay. I was a little bit tricked for a second. I think I had a brain fart. This one here, guys. This case, we have main clause first, if clause second. So you just have to kind of switch your thinking around. So in the first part here, we have will plus infinitive. Second part, we have our if clause. So this case, number 8, they will go. They will go to the party if they, now be invited, if they are invited. Okay, and number 9, guys, we got, okay, regular statement. Wow, that's weird because actually if we think about it here, out of all the 10 ones here, there's only number 8 that is switching the main clause with the if clause. But anyhow, number 9 here, guys, if I blank to bed early, I blank tired tomorrow. And we got not go. So if I do not go, if I do not go to bed early, I will plus infinitive. So I will be tired tomorrow. Okay, good. And let's look at number 10. Sorry, I'll write number 10 here. Blank, blank. If we blank all this cake, we blank sick. Okay, pretty simple. If we eat, because present simple, right? All this cake, we will plus infinitive. We will feel sick. Okay, guys, good. So we got the zero conditional practice done, and now we got our first conditional practice done. So we should feel pretty good. If there was something confusing, you could always take a look at the answer sheet. There's an answer sheet for the zero conditional and the first conditional, but I already gave you guys the answer. I'm pretty confident in it, so don't worry about it too much. What we should do, guys, is take a look at our expressions, our vocab for this week. Now, I'm going to be honest here. There's too much. So what I'd really like to do is just probably focus on 10 of these. So please take a look at this one here, expressions related to chance, right? Let's take a look at those ones. So let me erase the first conditional form practice on the board. And unfortunately, my coworkers didn't hear me, so nobody moved the cursor downwards. So I need to change the computer for a second, guys. Give me one moment. Okay, so on this one, okay, nobody made any comments anyhow. Okay, all right, guys, so let's take a look here. Expressions related to chance. We have a lot of good expressions here, but like what I said, we can't go over all of these ones, right? Okay, I actually do like number 1, but let me write the title on the board first. Expressions related to chance. Okay, expressions related to chance. Woo! And I like number 1, so we're actually going to do number 1. It's anyone's call. It's anyone's call. Now, when we use this expression, we usually say something first, and when we're talking about this something, it's like we're not sure what's going to happen. We're not sure what the impact or consequences of an action are going to be. And in this case, we say something first, and then we say, I don't know, it's anyone's call. So it's better to add it. It is anyone's call. And if you say it's anyone's call, what you're saying, again, is you are not sure what's going to happen in the future, right? It's anyone's call. I have no control over this. He has no control over this. Maybe other people don't either. It's anyone's call. So take a look at the meaning again. A situation in which any result, outcome, or consequence might happen, right? So this would be pretty good to use right now with the coronavirus being around and everybody's like very uncertain, like is there going to be a vaccine developed soon? We don't know, right? What's going to happen to the economy? We don't know. What's going to happen with international affairs? We don't know, right? So my example here might be something like, I hope a cure or vaccine is developed ASAP. I hope a cure or vaccine is developed ASAP. However, it is anyone's call. So I'm just saying here, like, I don't know what's going to happen, right? Like, I hope a cure or vaccine is developed as soon as possible, but it's anyone's call. Like, I don't know what the impact of this is going to be, right? Or actually, let me think of a better example. That example is okay, but let's say maybe this would be a little bit clearer if I said, I'm not sure what is going to happen to the economy. And I don't think anyone actually knows. It is anyone's call. So again, like with the coronavirus, I'm not sure what is going to happen to the economy. And I don't think anyone actually knows. It's anyone's call, right? Like anybody could, this kind of also means like anybody could make a prediction, right? We could all make a prediction, but we don't know what's going to happen, right? Because again, we don't know with this situation, what are the results going to be? We don't know the outcome, right? We don't know the conclusion. We don't know what the consequences of the coronavirus may be yet, right? So that's why this example works. So guys, I know this expression is actually pretty hard, but it's a very interesting expression. Just remember, you want to use this when you want to state that nobody really knows what's going to happen, right? It's anyone's call. I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, so that's number one. Okay, so I'm just going to pick 10 guys. And we do have a list with 25. So if I skip something, it doesn't mean it's useless. It's just I would prefer to look at something that I think is better. And actually, I really like number 3. Number 3 is kind of a fun thing to say. Fat chance. Fat chance. And it's usually used with an expression mark. Well, pretty much always an expression mark. But anyhow, fat chance is an expression used to describe something that one believes has little or no chance of happening. So if your friend says that, like, oh, I'm going to get married to the Prince of Norway, and I'm going to be so rich, and I'm going to have a yacht, and I'm going to have a house in every country in the world, and my life is going to be like a fairy tale. Yay! I'm going to marry the Prince of Norway. And you're listening to this, and you obviously think this is not going to happen. You just say to your friend, fat chance, right? So you're saying to your friend, I don't believe you, right? I don't believe you. That has such a little chance of actually happening, right? So my example here would have to be a little bit complicated. It'd have to be like two people speaking to each other. So let's say person A says, when I'm rich, I will buy I don't know, what do crazy rich people buy? Penthouse in New York. Right? Now, actually, this example is also good because this is a first conditional sentence, right? Because it could say if I'm rich, but this person, first conditional sentences, if you switch if with when, then it's actually really, really different. Like when I am rich, so this person believes this will happen, right? When I'm rich, I will buy a penthouse in New York. So this person's saying like, this is gonna happen, I'm gonna be rich. Now, imagine this is your friend, person A, right? You are person B. Your friend is a lazy guy, he doesn't work very hard and he's not very smart. So you hear your friend say, hey, when I'm rich, I will buy a penthouse in New York City, dude. And you're like, what? That's not gonna happen, dude. You just say, fat chance. And you don't need to say anything else. You just say, fat chance. I don't believe that. That's not gonna happen. Fat chance, man. Anyhow, guys, so just remember, when you say fat chance, you're just saying, I don't think that's gonna happen, right? Or there's a very small possibility that will happen. Okay, guys, so I like number 1, I like number 3, but let me erase these off of the board. And let's take a look at some more. Now remember, I'm just gonna pick 10. Okay, 4, 5, 6 are good, but I don't wanna look at them. Also, number 7 is good, but not gonna look at that. Number 8 is okay. Number 9 is okay. Let's take a look at number 9. I do use this expression. Number 9 is rotten luck. And we usually say that is rotten luck. Rotten luck basically means that's bad luck. But this is used to show sympathy, right? Now what I mean here is, if you say, let's say your friend describes a story where he has had really bad luck, and you feel bad for your friend, right? So you say, oh man, that's rotten luck. So you're saying to your friend, that is bad luck, but also you're trying to show them, or you're trying to convey that you really do feel bad for them, right? You do feel sympathy for them, right? So again, the example here would have to include kind of a conversation between two people. So person A, let's say your friend, they say, I got fired yesterday, and then my cat died. Oh, that's really terrible. Sorry guys, that's a really awful example because it's not very nice, right? I like cats, so I don't know why that came out of my brain. But this can happen to people, right? So your friend's saying, I got fired yesterday. That's bad, right? But then they're also saying, and then my cat died, right? So there's like two really awful things in a row. So you want to show sympathy for your friend. You want to convey that to them, right? So as a nice person, you just say, I feel so bad for you, period. That's rotten luck. And that's all you have to say, right? So rotten luck just means really bad luck, but you're also trying to show the person that you care about them and that you sympathize with them. Anyhow, so rotten luck, that's a good one. Number 9. That ship has sailed. That was something that we kind of looked at last week, so I don't want to do that one, but it is a good expression. I like number 11. To be sitting pretty. So, sorry guys, my mouth is really dry right now. To be sitting pretty. To be sitting pretty means you are in an advantageous circumstance. That's a little bit hard to understand. Basically, I want to simplify this. To be sitting pretty means to be in an excellent life situation. So let's say like right now, you know, with the coronavirus, people are losing their jobs, right? It's really sad right now. A lot of people are losing their jobs. They're uncertain about the future. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Things are pretty bad right now, right? But let's say for you that maybe right now your job is stable. You have savings. So even if you lose your job, you're going to be okay. You're doing fine. In your case, you can say, I am sitting pretty. Like I'm really okay, right? I'm actually in a really excellent life situation. I'm all right. So maybe my example here could be like, I'm married, I'm happy, and my wife and I have savings. We have, now savings is like money you have saved in the bank. We call that savings. I am sitting pretty. Like I'm actually doing okay. My life situation right now is all right. Now, I'm not really talking, well, this is kind of about myself, but we're not really sitting all that pretty, but I am. I'm sitting pretty. Just means you're doing all right. I'm sitting pretty, or he is sitting pretty, right? We could point at a lot of rich and or famous people and say, they're sitting pretty, right? Like, they're okay. They have enough money, they'll be fine, right? So for example, early on when the coronavirus first got started, like in Canada that happened like mid-March, I remember reading like a week before that, the famous American actor, Tom Hanks, you know, such a great actor, right? Forrest Gump, Saving Private Ryan, you know, blah, blah, blah. He's a fantastic actor. And I remember reading this piece of news about a week before the coronavirus got really bad in Canada. The piece of news said, Tom Hanks has coronavirus. And I was like, oh my God, Tom Hanks has coronavirus? No way, that's terrible. But at the same time, I thought, well, Tom Hanks, he's in Australia, he's famous, and he's rich. So honestly, even though he has coronavirus, I'm sure Tom Hanks will get better. And I thought, well, Tom Hanks is sitting pretty. He'll be okay, right? He's in a good situation. He's got money and he's famous. Okay, so sitting pretty, good one. Let's take a look at another one. I'm going to look at the back side. Oh, I like number 15. Number 15 is really long, though. To have something fall, I prefer fall as opposed to drop, fall into one's lap. Okay, now think about this like physically, visually. Have something fall into your lap, one's lap. So you guys know when you're sitting, right? Your lap, right? Your legs. Something falls into your lap. But this is actually a good thing, right? To have something fall into your lap is to have something desirable happen or to acquire something desirable without putting in any effort. It basically means to have good luck without actually working for anything, right? So I have this cousin, and she's got a really great story. And I don't say this because I don't respect her or anything, but she got really, really lucky with her job. She got a really good job. I would say her job fell into her lap. So what I'm saying here is like, she didn't actually really try to get this job, but she got this job completely by luck, and it's a really good job. So let me try to explain or add some more context. So my cousin, she never went to university actually, although she is a very smart person. And she was working as a waitress in Vancouver. And close to the place she worked at, there was this big 3D art studio that used to make a lot of the 3D art for Pixar movies, right? So pretty big. A lot of the workers there used to go to my cousin's place for lunch, and she would serve them, right? One of the managers there really, really started to like her, not in a boyfriend-girlfriend way. He just thought she's really good at her job. So he offered her a job to become an administrator and manager, right? And she had no educational background, but she was just very effective. So that job fell into her lap. She didn't even really work for it, but she got the job and she's good at her job. So congratulations to her. So when something falls into your lap, like if you said, some money fell into my lap, you'd be like, I got some money without doing anything for it, right? So everybody would like something to fall into their lap, right? But let me erase these ones. And, yeah, there's a lot of other good expressions here. Okay, and there are lots of other good ones here, like, Number 16, to jump on the bandwagon. To jump on the bandwagon. To jump on the bandwagon can be a little bit hard to understand, but to jump on the bandwagon means to join a growing movement just as it becomes fashionable. Or basically like to follow trends or fads, right? So what that means, like everybody knows trend, like trendy, right? So let's say in women's fashion, everybody starts wearing, for example, yoga pants, right? And at first you're like, I don't like this fashion trend, right? I don't want to wear yoga pants, but then everybody's doing it. So you jump on the bandwagon and also start wearing yoga pants. So to jump on the bandwagon just means like you're gonna follow what is currently popular, right? What is like a trend or a fad, right? Or let's say like right now, like the local hockey team in Vancouver is the Vancouver Canucks, but that's actually not my favorite hockey team. My favorite hockey team is actually Montreal. I prefer the Montreal Canadiens. But let's say the Vancouver Canucks are doing really good, right? So everybody in Vancouver is cheering the Vancouver Canucks, 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 right? Let's say I jump on the bandwagon and I also start saying like, yeah, Canucks, I'm a big Canucks supporter. Yeah, the Vancouver Canucks are the best. Then somebody could say like, Allan jumped on the bandwagon. He's only doing this because it's currently fashionable and cool, right? A couple of years ago, my example here will be a couple of years ago, it was fashionable for men to grow a man bun. So a couple of years ago, it was popular for men to grow a man bun. It was a kind of trend at the time. Now, a man bun was when a guy has longer hair and then he would tie his hair into a bun, right? And that was maybe still a little bit popular. Like, I think it was a couple of years ago. Every guy, or not every guy, quite a few cool guys had like a man bun and also a beard. That was like super fashionable maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. I remember Leonardo DiCaprio had something like that. Anyhow, a couple of years ago, it was fashionable for men to grow a man bun. One of my friends jumped on the bandwagon and grew a man bun. But I didn't jump on the bandwagon because I hate having long hair. Okay, so that's just my example. Like, and this is actually a true example. A couple of years ago, it was fashionable for men to grow a man bun. One of my friends jumped on the bandwagon and grew a man bun. But I didn't jump on the bandwagon because I hate having long hair. Actually, true story, not that it's important, but yeah, it was very fashionable to have a man bun. So my friend grew a man bun, and I thought, bleh, right? What? Just following this trend? Like, dude, come on, my dude. I didn't like it. And then also for me, like actually recently I had pretty long hair. I think Gian and Maria and other students, you guys saw that last week. Honestly, it was getting too hot and uncomfortable, and I really, really didn't like it. I think I was just afraid to get a haircut for some reason. Well, my wife kept telling me, like, don't get a haircut, it's dangerous, COVID-19. But anyhow, last weekend I got a haircut, so I feel more refreshed. Anyhow, so we got 1, 2, how many have we gone through here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, okay, we should really look at 4 more. Oh, this is gonna take us a little bit longer. Jump on the bandwagon. I also like 17. 17 is similar to have something drop in your lap. To luck out, very simple to use. To luck out basically means to be very lucky, right? So it's very simple to use. You would just say, I lucked out. Or you can say, I lucked out and then explain how you were lucky. So let me do that for my example here. And I'm going to use a past tense because let's say that this good luck happened in the past, right? I could say, I lucked out. So I had really good luck. And now, after I write and here, I'm going to explain, like, how did I luck out? How did I get lucky, right? I lucked out and won, I don't know, let's say $5,000 playing poker, for example, right? So I'm just saying, like, I got lucky playing poker, right? I lucked out. So you don't have to explain how you lucked out, right? You could just say, I lucked out, period, and then in a separate sentence, explain how did you luck out, like how did you get lucky, right? Or you could say how you got lucky first and then just say, I lucked out. Maybe a lot of guys might say this about their wives, right? They might say, you know, my wife is so beautiful and so wonderful, right? I really lucked out. Like I'm really lucky to have met my wife and gotten married. Anyhow, so that's number 17. That's a good one. So that would mean we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Man, I am really bad at math. Let's do 3 more. Number 18, don't really use it myself. So actually 18, I'd say don't even bother. To play the waiting game. Yeah, to play the waiting game is a good expression. Number 19. So to play the waiting game. To play the waiting game, basically this means, or this is an expression that we use when we want to say to somebody else, like, you need to wait. You need to play the waiting game. The opportunity is not present right now. You're gonna have to wait until later. So yeah, to play the waiting game means to wait before doing something in order to do it at the most opportune moment, or to be able to do it at the best moment possible. So basically, to play the waiting game basically means, like in a very fancy way, wait, right? That's it. So I might say as an example here, now is not the best time to open a new restaurant. Maybe I'm talking to my friend, and my friend's like, he's got this awesome idea for a restaurant, and I actually agree. I think that's a great idea, John. But I say, hey, John, now is not the best time to open a new restaurant. You need to play the waiting game. You need to play the waiting game. You need to wait, John, right? This is not the best time. Wait until later when the coronavirus has been dealt with, and then I am sure your business will be successful. But right now, you need to play the waiting game, right? And that's all it means. Okay, guys, so all these are good expressions. I want to take a look at just 2 more. So let me erase this here. Okay, and Okay, yeah, I like 20, but it is actually a little bit hard. It is something that is used, though, to push one's luck. To push one's luck. Now, the meaning here is correct. It says to take a risk in the hope that one will achieve success. Honestly, the most common way I use this is I say, don't push your luck. Period. Quit while you are ahead. So what I'm saying in the sentence here is don't continue, right? And if somebody says don't push your luck, that kind of means like you've already gotten lucky. Don't continue to try to be lucky, right? Because you will probably fail if you continue, right? Don't push your luck. Quit while you are ahead. And this is something that like a lot of gamblers say when they're gambling, right? Now, gambling is not good. Gambling is bad, obviously, right? But bear with me. Let's say you go to the casino, right? And you're playing slots, right? You know, you put the coin in, and then you pull the lever, and you know, ding, 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 ding. Let's say you're playing the slots, or you're playing blackjack. And let's say you're playing blackjack. Let's say you win, you double your money, right? And then you keep that money in. Then you win again, and you double your money, right? So maybe you started with 10, then you got 20. And then you did it again, you bet 20, now you got 40. And now you got 40, and you bet it again, all of it again, and you win again, and you get double, and you got $80, right? You got 80 bucks. And you know, you're with your friend, and you're gonna bet it all again. But then your friend says, hey, don't push your luck. Quit while you are ahead. What they're saying here is like, you've already gotten lucky 1, 2, 3 times. You're ahead. You have turned $10 into $80. Don't push your luck, because if you continue to push your luck, you're gonna lose, and then you're gonna lose all your money. So quit while you are ahead. You are ahead. You are doing well, so you should quit now, because if you keep going further, you will eventually fail, and you will lose all your money. So that is the meaning of that expression. It doesn't have to only be used in the context where you are gambling, right? It could be used in a completely different context, right? Anything that could potentially involve luck, right? Yeah, don't push your luck. Okay, really good expression. I really do like it. Okay, one more. Yeah, actually, I really like 21. To strike gold. To strike gold. And to strike gold, just like a lot of these other expressions here, it basically means like to get very lucky or to achieve success. But in my opinion, it's more about achieving success, but it also involves the idea of getting a little bit lucky. The image you have to have here of somebody striking gold is you have to think of a miner, like in the past, like a miner who, you know, goes to a mountain or goes to a hill, and they're mining for gold. They're looking for gold, right? Ding, ding, and it's a hard job. And most of them don't make a lot of money, and it's really tough. But he's striking the rock, you know, bing, bing, with the pickaxe, the tool that you use for mining in the past anyhow, right? Bing, bing. Actually, one of my great-grandfathers did this really far up north, and he did strike gold, and then he lost in a river. He lost half of it in a river. If he didn't, maybe I'd be rich today. That's too bad, right? Anyhow, so bing, he keeps looking for gold, and he strikes gold. He gets lucky, right? He achieves success. Yes, I got the gold, right? But this also includes this idea that he has had some good luck, right? He struck gold, right? So an example here, like let's say you're a woman and your friend Stephanie has a really good-looking boyfriend, right? You could say Stephanie struck gold, so past tense, when she met Dustin. So like Dustin is like this really good-looking guy. You know, he doesn't have any mental problems. He's just a good-looking guy. So Stephanie's really lucky. She struck gold when she met Dustin. Dustin is like the gold, right? He is a great guy. Anyhow, so guys, we're gonna stop it there for right now, though. Yeah, anyhow, we're gonna stop it there right now. These are really excellent idioms. They're really cool. The ones that I did skip are not garbage, so please take a look at them if you have more time. Let's take a break. After the break, let's talk about your assignment. Okay, guys, so we'll take a break. I'll see you again in about 10 minutes. Hey guys, welcome back to Live PST. We are now in our third class. In the previous class, we just finished off looking at 10 of those expressions related to chance. Now, we only looked at 10, but the rest of these 15 expressions are pretty good. So if you have time, take a look at these in more detail. They're quite excellent. Also, there's this sheet here. It doesn't have a title, but it's also pretty good. I do like this. These ones here are more complex though. But again, if you have time, please take a look at these ones here. They're really pretty good. Yeah, maybe I'll try to incorporate this into my writing model for you guys later today. Now, in addition to that, there's actually too much material for today's class, and there's so much that it would be hard for me to get through everything. This one here is also pretty awesome. It says, teach this ESL, EFL resources if and when involving the first conditional. And there's also instructions here. We're not going to be able to do this in class, but again, if you have like a printer at home, and I know that's a big if, I'm sorry guys, or if you can just do it like online together. This is actually a really fun kind of team game, right? Or it could be like in pairs, one person with another. And it says, in this energetic team game, students race to compete first conditional sentences and sentences containing the future time clause when. What you do is you divide yourselves into two groups. So if you have more than two people, that's even better, or at least just one other person. You're, team A, they're team B, or you're team blue, they're team red. And you're going to race to complete first conditional sentences and sentences containing the future time clause when. So what you do here is you set a time limit, then you each take one of these strips, right? So for example, if I have enough money, or when I'm old, if the weather improves, etc., then the teams race to complete the first sentence, making sure the sentence is logical and grammatically correct. As soon as a team has completed the sentence, one student from the team comes to you, and that's the teacher, of course, but in this case, just double check it yourselves with the strip. If it's correct, the team gets a point, and you give the student the second strip, and so on. If a sentence is incorrect, the team has to rewrite it, keep the score for each team on the board. When the time limit has been reached, the students stop writing. The team with the most points wins. So this is actually kind of fun. I know that this would be hard to do at home. That's true, but it'd still be really good practice, especially if you do have a partner at home. Or you could even just do this yourself anyhow. Give yourself a time limit, take a look at these, and try to complete them. So the idea here is like you cut out these sentences, or you look at them online, and you see things like at the top here, for example, I'll clean my room when, for example. Now, I'll clean my room when something happens, right? So I'll clean my room. This is the main clause. So we're actually starting with the main clause first, not the conditional or if clause. And then the if clause. So you need to try to race to finish this as quickly as possible. So you have to look at it and think, okay, I'll clean my room when? When will I clean my room? When I have time. Okay, good. When I have time, right? So there we go. I got one done. Okay, move on to the next one, right? And the next one here, so that's number one. Number two is if I have enough money. Okay, if I have enough money, this is obviously starting with an if clause first, right? So we got an if clause first. Now remember, the difference between starting a conditional sentence with the if clause first or the main clause first is if you start with the main clause, you don't need a comma to separate the two clauses. But if you start with an if clause, you need to use a comma, right? So if I have enough money, comma, and then you need to think, what will you do, right? So remember, a first conditional sentence, you're going to say, if I have enough money, present simple. But remember, with the main clause, you need to use will plus an infinitive, right? Because you're talking about something being possible in the future. If I have enough money, I will, maybe I'll say, buy a new computer, for example, right? And like ding, 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 okay, I got it done. So on to the third one, right? So I'm just looking at a few examples with you guys. Number 3 is a good one. When I am old. So we got when I am old. So here we're starting with the if clause first, even though we're using when. When I'm old, and then our main clause, main Santa Claus, right? Ooh, that is not a good joke. But when I'm old, I will, and then think, what do you want to do when you're old, right? I will travel to many countries. And there, whoops, put the period up there. There we go. Okay, so again, you finish this one, this one. You keep racing, right, to try to complete as many as you possibly can. Let's take a look at the fourth one. If the weather improves, I just don't like the sentence. It's not interesting. Oh, I like number 12. Sorry, guys, I'm skipping so many here, but I really like number 12. Okay. If you visit my country. Okay, so of course, we're starting with our if clause first, right? If you visit my country. So here's our if clause, comma. Now we need our main clause to include will plus infinitive. Main clause. So if you visit my country, you will have a good time. Oh, that's such a boring answer. But I really like the statement anyhow. Yeah, if you visit my country, you'll have a good time. I hope in Canada that you have a good time, of course, right? Oh yes, but that's the idea with this practice here. I do think this practice could be a lot of fun. Obviously, you want to have a partner for this practice, but even if you don't have a partner, what you could do is just try to complete these sentences anyhow because it's a good practice. And then later, like next week when you're in class, you could show it to Melanie or myself. We could take a look and try to correct them. Actually, I think next week I'm going to be the in-class teacher. But anyhow, so this is good stuff. All right, guys, so let's get off of that, though. And we really need to talk about your assignment, your writing assignment for this week. Now, with the online classes, the schedule is different. We're only doing 3 hours a day, but you guys have more homework assignments. So we have the assignment here, if poems. This will be due on Wednesday. If you're not able to complete it for Wednesday, don't worry so much, right? If you're just too busy these days, that's fine. Try to complete it and submit it later for Friday or whatever, but try Wednesday. Anyhow, so your assignment this week is to create if poems. So please take a look at Global College Assignment, if poems. And it says, this week you are tasked with creating a poem about if situations. You will have to create scenarios that relate to each other based on the previous line. See the example below. Okay, so just let me erase this for a second. And it says here, okay, so our example here is good. If I eat a lot of cake, I will gain weight. If I gain weight, I will have to go to the gym. If I go to the gym, I will gain lots of muscles. If I gain lots of muscles, I will become a professional bodybuilder. If I become a professional bodybuilder, I will enter competitions. If I enter competitions, I will win them. If I win them, I will celebrate by eating cake. Okay, now actually, I really like this one because this one here, it's like the very last sentence connects to the very first sentence. So it's kind of smart, right? The cycle continues again, right? Now, this is just a brief example. And actually, we would prefer it if you guys write more than this. Now, as you can see, this poem is written in the first conditional. And you're also encouraged to use this type when you write your if poem. You will also be learning about the zero conditional this week, like we did earlier today. Often used when we want to talk about facts or things that are generally true. So that's true. But so for this assignment, you guys are kind of writing a poem, and you can use the zero conditional and or the first conditional. But honestly, it's easier just to use the first conditional. So if you want, you can only just use the first conditional. Because remember, the first conditional is more important and more useful than the zero conditional. So if you want, just focus on the first conditional. It says, for this assignment, you must write 3 paragraphs, or in the case of poetry, stanzas. So stanzas are similar to paragraphs, but they're only used in poetry. And when you're writing poetry, usually at the end of the sentence, you do not include a period. You just continue, right? So if you look at the example here, yeah, like if I eat a lot of cake, I will gain weight, no period. If I gain weight, I will have to go to the gym. If I go to the gym, I will gain lots of muscles. If I gain lots of muscles, blah, 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 right? So anyhow, all of which must use conditionals. You must also try to incorporate up to 3 of the idioms and expressions related to chance that you have learned at this week. So when you're doing your writing, I think it's a very, very good idea to keep the expressions related to chance, and also this one here that was not named. And of course, we didn't go over all these expressions, but try to use, about 3 of them if you can. It's a little bit harder to include them in your writing, but it's a really good idea. So please try to do that. And the situations in your poem do not need to be realistic. You can be as creative as you like. This assignment is due on Wednesday before class, so try your best and have fun. So yeah, it's also important to remember this does not need to be realistic. This does not have to be about your real life situation. This is just for fun. It can be completely crazy, right? But you have to use just the first conditional. If you want, you can use the zero conditional as well. But my recommendation is stick to the third conditional, right? And you guys will be okay. And again, when you're writing it, think about and use this example here, right? If I eat a lot of cake, I will gain weight. If I gain weight, I will have to go to the gym. If I go to the gym, I'll gain lots of muscles. If I gain lots of muscles, da 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 da. So like you've got your if clause, main clause, if clause, main clause, if clause, main clause. And what they're doing here is they have the if clause and then their main clause. Then in the second line, they're using the main clause for their if statement, and then another main clause. And then the next one, they're using the main clause for the next if statement, and then another main clause. And then the next one, they're using the main clause for the if statement. So this actually makes it a lot easier for you to write, right? Because honestly, you only need to think 50% as much as you would if everything is unique and totally different each sentence, right? If I eat a lot of cake, I will gain weight. If I gain weight, I will have to go to the gym. If I go to the gym, I will gain lots of muscles. If I gain lots of muscles, I will become a professional bodybuilder. If I become a professional bodybuilder, I will enter competitions. If I enter competitions, I will win them. If I win them, I will celebrate by eating cake. And then it continues again, right? So it's a very clever little poem here. Now, we also have another example here that you guys can take a look at. Now this one also is not broken into 3 different stanzas or paragraphs, but it's still a good example. So it says if poem. And this one here is like related to the environment, right? Now, that's just what this person wrote. You don't have to write anything related to the environment. There really is no overall topic here, right? Just write a poem about maybe yourself, but it doesn't have to be yourself. Write a poem about anything, but I recommend yourself because it makes it easier. Make 3 stanzas and just first conditional, first conditional, first conditional, first conditional, done. Next stanza, first conditional, first conditional. But let's take a look at the example here, guys. It says, if we recycle, we will reduce carbon emissions. If we reduce emissions, the air will be cleaner. If the air is cleaner, there will be fewer health problems. If there are fewer health problems, people will live longer. If people live longer, they can experience more of the world. If they experience more of the world, they will want to protect it. If we join them and protect our planet, ecosystems may replenish. If ecosystems replenish, color might return to coral reefs. If color returns to coral reefs, fish and various sea life will return. If fish and sea life return, we will become more engaged with our oceans. If we're engaged with our oceans, we won't pollute them with waste. If we don't pollute our oceans, plastic won't be a common sight. If plastic isn't a common sight, turtles will have a place to lay eggs. If we want turtles to have a place to lay eggs, we must recycle. Okay, guys, so again, this is mostly using the first conditional, right? Because if you think about the second clause of each sentence or each line here in the main clause, we will, the air will, there will be, people will, they can experience more of the world. Well, it's not always using the first conditional, but generally is using the first conditional, right? Now, this is a good example, and I also recommend the example on the assignment sheet, but I would like to try to provide you guys with an example as well. Now, this week's assignment is really different from a lot of the other ones we've done previously, because in this case, you are not writing 5 paragraphs, right? So you don't need to worry so much about transitional phrases or something like that. However, they do want you to try to use this. This is really hard. If you're having trouble using and incorporating the expressions related to chance, don't worry about it so much. It's better to just write 3 stanzas using the first conditional. That's my basic recommendation and the basic requirement, right? So I am going to try to think of an if poem. And the example we looked at, one was just a personal example, somebody talking about themselves. The other one was talking about recycling and the environment. What am I going to write about? Okay. Give me a second, guys. I need to think of my own topic. If poem. Okay. So this is the if poem, but I'm going to write my own title. My title is going to be Happy Wife, Happy Life. Actually, that should be a capital L. There we go. Happy Wife, Happy Life. Anyhow. Okay, so I'm going to write 3 stanzas. Now remember, I'm not going to be using periods here because this is a poem. Just remember, at the end of the sentence, it could just be blank, or maybe you can include a comma, right? I'm going to write here, if my, actually, I'm just going to write in general, not my, but maybe your, right? If your wife is unhappy, you will suffer. If you suffer, you will feel pain. if you feel pain. Now, again, I want to try to use one of these expressions here. Sorry, guys, I'm very clogged up today. Okay. If you feel pain, you will not luck out. You will not get lucky. If you don't luck out for a long time, I'm going to add that, you will get sad. Okay, no period. If you get sad, you will become depressed. Okay, that's all I'm going to write for the first stanza. So let's think about this. Now remember, guys, I'm writing this pretty quickly. Each stanza, there is no minimum requirement about how many sentences you have to write. But I would think for each stanza, each paragraph, probably a good idea to write a minimum of 4. So I've written 5. And remember, the second, like the main clause of each sentence is being used as the if clause in the following sentence. So let's take a look at the first one. If your wife is unhappy. Now, so I'm kind of talking to guys here, right? If your wife is unhappy, you will suffer. Now, suffer means feel pain, right? So suffer is a good verb. Don't confuse suffer with supper. Suffer means to feel pain, and that pain could be physical, mental, or emotional, right? And suffer does not equal supper, because supper is delicious, supper is dinner. Oh yeah. Anyhow, if your wife is unhappy, you will suffer. If you suffer, you will feel pain. If you feel pain, you will not luck out. Now remember, luck out, to luck out means to like get lucky. If you don't luck out for a long time, you will get sad. If you get sad, you will become depressed. Okay, so that's going to be my first stanza or my first paragraph. Now, I think I'm using a lot of vocabulary here that's not very difficult, but I think one thing you guys might be a little bit confused about is sad and depressed. Depressed basically does have the same meaning as sad, but there is a difference, right? Depression is a more serious period of time where somebody is sad, right? Like, you know, if your cat dies, you're going to be sad for a couple of days, right? But if you're still sad after 1 month, then we would call that depression. So depression is sadness, but it's like sadness that has gone for a long time and is much more serious. It is a more serious mental health problem, right? And I think, you know, a lot of us experienced depression recently with the coronavirus and having to stay home all the time, right? A lot of us were, you know, depressed at that time, right? Because it was sad, we couldn't go out. Anyhow, guys, so that's my first stanza. But I'm going to connect my second stanza to my first stanza. So I'm going to continue this, but I'm going to start with, you will become depressed. So let me erase this here. So my second stanza is going to start with, if you become depressed. If you become depressed, you will start to gain weight. Now, I gained weight recently, but it's not because I'm sad. It's just I was too busy. Yeah, that sounds weird. I was too busy, so I got fat. But it's not because I've been sad. Anyhow, but in this case, if you do get depressed, I think a lot of depressed people do start to gain weight. If you gain weight, you will get fat. If you get, and there's nothing wrong with being fat, but I'm just saying, if you get fat, your wife will complain. If your wife complains, you will realize that something is wrong. Now, last sentence in my stanza here, last line, instead of using if, I think I'm going to use when. When you finally realize that something is wrong, comma, so that's our if clause here. You will realize that you will realize that you need to change. Okay. Whoops, period. No period. All right, guys, so here's my second stanza. Now, the first thing to remember is my second stanza is still connected to my first stanza because the main clause of my last line in my first stanza was you will become depressed, and I'm using it here. If you become depressed, you will start to gain weight. If you gain weight, you will get fat. Whoops, put a period there. My mistake. If you get fat, your wife will complain. If your wife complains, you will realize that something is wrong. When you finally realize that something is wrong, you will realize that you need to change, right? So I didn't use any of the expressions. I'll try to use, I did use the one in the first stanza, right? But I'll try to use two in the last stanza. So here, guys, I don't think there's anything hard. Yeah, if you become depressed, you'll start to gain weight, right? Gain weight. If you gain weight, you will get fat. If you get fat, your wife will complain, you know, hey, why did you get fat? What's going on? If your wife complains, you will realize, right? You will realize something is wrong. When you finally realize that something is wrong, you're like, oh my God, something's wrong. You will realize that you need to change. You need to change your life, right? Okay, guys, so that's my second stanza. Now, my third stanza, I want to continue by using the main clause here as the if clause in the first line of my last stanza here. Now, I think my last stanza is actually going to be a little bit longer than 5 lines, but let's see how it goes. You will realize you need to change. Okay, you will realize you need to change. I think that was what I wrote down. Okay, so here, whoop. Okay, third stanza, number 3. if you have finally realized that you need to change, you will start working out and eating better. Okay, so there's my first line. If you work out and eat better, you will lose weight. If you lose weight, oh my God, I forgot. I need to try to incorporate the expressions. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm going to use sitting pretty. If you lose weight, you will be sitting pretty and feel more energetic. Like feel more energetic. Energetic is a good adjective to add here. Energetic. So of course energetic comes from energy, and it basically means have a lot of energy, right? To have lots of energy. So what was I writing here? If you lose weight, you will be sitting pretty and feel more energetic. If you feel more energetic, you will do more housework. If you do more housework, your wife will appreciate you more and give you a kiss. That sounds cheesy, right? But anyhow, if your wife gives you a kiss, you will realize that you have made a good life change. And I think I would add actually one more line here, but kind of out of room. Okay, I'm going to draw a line up here to the title. So let me erase the title because I want to add one more line, but the last line is not going to be part of the poem. You have made a good life change. Then you will know. You will know that the expression happy wife, happy life is actually true. Okay, guys, so let's think about this again. Actually, did I use 3? No, I didn't. I only used 2 of the expressions. Sorry about that, guys. So I should have been more conscious about that when I was writing. But anyhow, yeah, if you have finally realized that you need to change, you will start working out and eating better. If you work out and eat better, you will lose weight. If you lose weight, you'll be sitting pretty and feel more energetic. If you feel more energetic, you'll do more housework. If you do more housework, your wife will appreciate you more and give you a kiss. If your wife gives you a kiss, you will realize that you have made a good life change. Then you will know that the expression, happy wife, happy life, is actually true, right? I don't know why I wrote this, but I think this is actually very true to life, what I did write down. Like, I got a lot of friends now who are married or in long-term relationships, and after being married for a long time, sometimes couples get, how can you put it? Sometimes things get tough, right? Sometimes, and it's for both the guy and the woman, yeah. Like sometimes I know, maybe if you're a wife, right? You see your husband, and maybe your husband's working hard these days, but he comes home, he's tired, he can't do any housework at home, he's not engaging with the kids, and he seems distant, right? And then from the guy's perspective too, maybe he comes home and his wife complains and his life is just not going so well anymore, right? He's not happy at work, he's gaining weight, and he's getting depressed, and he's like, I'm not so confident anymore, and like, I'm just tired, right? And maybe both the wife and husband, they're like, oh man, I'm just so tired, right? And it's easy for the wife to start, and like, I guess this is maybe, well, for Gian, like you're married, or Maria, you're married, like marriage can be tough sometimes. You hit rough spots, right? But there's ways to get out of that. But anyhow, I think like a lot of my friends who have like positive marriages or who have gone through a rough time, they've had similar experiences to this, where like been married for a while and things are kind of rough, and like, you come home, you're a guy, and you're like, oh man, I'm tired, and then you eat dinner and you're like, hey, thanks, and you're just too tired to do chores, and you're not paying a lot of attention to your wife, because it's not because you don't love her, it's just you're tired, right? And then sometimes you feel like, oh, my wife complains so much, she's always complaining, like I'm not doing any housework, or these days I'm getting fat and she's complaining, and I'm like, I'm getting depressed and I'm just not happy, right? So from a guy's perspective, at least I can understand. I'm not so sure, of course I'm not a woman, but like it's also bad for the woman too. But anyhow, I know for a lot of guys, like of course there is a way out of this, but it takes time to realize like, oh man, I'm wasting too much time like playing video games or other things like that because I'm tired and I'm upset. And it's easier to play video games than it is to do the housework and take care of my wife and try to be close to my wife, right? So I think this is not a bad poem. Like this is like a pretty, this is not really, I guess maybe this is not happening to me right now, but it is something that I think a lot of couples go through. So I can't remember what I wrote for the first paragraph, but I think I wrote, or the first stanza, but it was, yeah, if your wife is unhappy, what did I write? If your wife is unhappy, you will suffer. If you suffer, you will feel pain. If you feel pain, you will get sad. If you get sad, you will get depressed. If you get depressed, you will gain weight, right? I think that was getting into the second stanza. If you gain weight, what did I write? If you gain, maybe I wrote if you gain weight, you will get depressed. I can't remember. If you gain weight, you'll get depressed. Or, your wife will complain. If your wife complains, you will realize that something needs to change. When you realize something needs to change, wait. Yeah, when you realize something needs to change, blah, 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 blah. If you have finally realized that you need to change, you will start working out and eating better. If you work out and eat better, you will lose weight. If you lose weight, you will be sitting pretty and feel more energetic. If you feel more energetic, you will do more housework. If you do more housework, your wife will appreciate you more and give you a kiss. If your wife gives you a kiss, you will realize that you have made a good life change, blah, 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 blah. Like sometimes that happens in relationships. Not that I'm some relationship expert, but I have been married for a while. That happens in relationships. You just get tired sometimes, but you need to realize that you must change. And this is probably the same for women as it is for men. You have to sometimes modify your behavior, even though that is incredibly hard to do. And I think before that, you have to realize, like, okay, something is wrong, right? And a lot of times it's not about changing your partner, because changing somebody, well, they always say, like, you can't change somebody. You can't change someone's core behavior, right? Only they can make that change. So if there's something wrong, it's better to focus on yourself, right? By focusing on yourself, if you can make yourself a better person, and this goes for guys and for women, then maybe your wife or your husband will notice more, and they will also try to improve themselves, and things can get back to a happy place. Because it's really, really true when you think about it, happy wife, happy life. But I think this is the same for women. If your if your husband is happy, it probably makes you happy too. Like everybody wants to have a happy marriage, right? And then also with kids and a happy life, you know, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I think that's probably maybe one of my best pieces of advice that I've ever taught is like, yeah, it's important to take care of your partner, but if there's something going on and you're depressed and you're sad, you know, you can't usually get out of that depression by focusing on somebody else or by changing their problem. If you're depressed and you're sad, most of the time, not all of the time, maybe if you're in a bad relationship, you know, whatever, but most of the time it's something that you need to change. You need to change your mind, right? And you try to improve yourself, and then hopefully your partner will realize this, and maybe they will appreciate you more, and they will also try to improve themselves, right? I think the worst thing you can do is complain to your partner. For guys, you know, we're pretty used to having our wives complain, but sometimes when you complain too much, it's not helpful, and it just makes things kind of worse. Yeah, maybe more for guys than for women, because I can only speak from a guy's perspective. If you're not happy, you need to change yourself. And that should help you. That'll make you feel better, and hopefully your partner will realize that. And you know, sometimes you're in a relationship, and I'm not going to say this about marriage, but I will say this about boyfriend-girlfriend relationships. Sometimes you'll change yourself and you'll become a better person, and your partner won't, right? And then sometimes you need to seriously think about the relationship. Like, is this healthy? Is this good for me, right? Blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, well, I'm being like a psychologist here, and I'm not a trained psychologist, but I do think I know something about marriage, so I think this stuff is true. Anyhow, guys, so that is my 3-stanza if poem that I titled Happy Wife, Happy Life. For you guys, so my poem was kind of about, you know, overcoming, you know, depression and having a happy wife and thus having a happy life. But you guys, you can write it about anything. The example you had on the sheet there was about the environment and recycling, right? And on the assignment sheet, you have an example, just like a fun example with this guy talking about gaining weight and then becoming a weightlifter and then winning tournaments and eating cake and all this stuff, right? You guys can write about anything you want. Just divide it into 3 stanzas. Try to use the expressions here, but you know, I tried and I was only able to use 2. However, I didn't really keep it in mind. Try to use 3 of these if you can and see how it goes. All right, so that's your writing assignment for this week, hopefully due on Wednesday. If you don't have time, don't worry about it. There was a lot of additional material here. Like I did briefly look at the activity that you had here. Maybe let's just take a look at a few more of these before we end today's class, because it looks like I would be ending like 5 minutes early, and that's not good because I started late today. Sorry about that, guys. A lot of these, I'm only going to look at ones that I think are fun. So, I like 17. Let's look at 17. So for 17 we have blah, blah, blah. I feel relaxed when. Okay, so actually this part here is our main clause, right? They're doing it the other way around. Second part here starting with when is actually our if clause, but we're starting with when, right? Now remember, when you're starting with the main clause, you don't need to include the comma that separates the main clause from the if clause. But anyhow, I feel relaxed when. Okay, so you have to think of an answer to this. Like, oh my God, when do I feel relaxed? I feel relaxed when my wife and kids are content or sleeping. So sometimes on the weekend, I don't usually do this on the weekdays, but on the weekend, like if my wife is sleeping and my 2 daughters are sleeping, like I'll just kind of look at them and I'll be like, oh my God, they're sleeping. Okay, I have some private time, right? Or actually, this is a good expression. Sometimes we say me time. We all need me time, right? Me time is like private time, right? So you're like, oh my God. Or I'm like this, right? Oh my God, my wife and kids are sleeping, or they're content, they're satisfied, they look kind of happy. I'm like, oh my God, I can relax, right? Everything is okay. I've done a good job for today, right? Mission accomplished. But the mission starts up again the very next day when they wake up, right? Anyhow, 17 is a fun one. 20. 20 is an interesting one because this happened recently. I'm sure you guys saw the news story about, when did that happen? I think that was last Friday or last Thursday. Really terrible explosion in Beirut in Lebanon, right? That was really awful. Anyhow, when I see a sad story on the news, something, something. So we're starting with when here. So this is actually our if clause first. Now, because we're starting with our if clause first, we're going to have a comma here, and then we're going to have our main clause. So when I see a sad story on the news, when I see a sad story on the news, now this one here, these examples are mostly the first conditional, but this one is actually the zero conditional because, yeah, I'm just going to write here, I feel sad. I know the answer is kind of boring, right? But it's true. When I see a sad story on the news, I feel sad. This one is not first conditional because I'm not saying I will feel sad, right? I feel sad because this is maybe generally true. Whenever I see a sad story in the news, I feel a little bit sad. I'm not going to lie and say I'm like, oh, I feel a little bit. But yeah, I feel a little bit sad when I saw the news about Beirut and what happened in Lebanon. You know, it's sad. Like a bunch of people lost their lives and there's a lot of damage, and now people are really angry at the government, probably for good reason, and hopefully they'll get a new government. But anyhow, yeah, that's about it. Actually, since I became a father, I can't read any really negative news stories about kids, like kids getting kidnapped or something bad happening to them or kids getting cancer. I can't do it anymore because I have my own children. It's just too awful, but that's just me. Anyhow, guys, so that activity there, though, is really kind of fun. I do recommend, like, fill those in. And if you don't have a partner to play with, you know, bring it in next Monday. We'll take a look at it, see how you did. It should be good practice. All right, guys, but that about does it for today. I will be with you guys, I think, also tomorrow. Melanie will be doing the morning classes. I will be doing the afternoon online classes. So I hope you enjoyed class today. I will see you guys tomorrow, and I hope you guys have a good day. And yeah, also we're going to be giving you guys a survey later this week about the online classes. So if there's something wrong with the class or something you don't like or something good, please tell us later, right? But anyhow, that's about it for today, guys. I hope you guys have a good day on this Monday. I will see you guys tomorrow if you join the afternoon class for this low-level class, or Melanie will see you tomorrow morning. Unfortunately, Melanie wasn't here today. She actually had to go on a small field trip, but she'll be back tomorrow. All right, guys, so have a good day. I will see you guys tomorrow.